I'm John Buchanan. Now, in a previous episode, not that long ago, what I did was to put Mastering Assistant up against a kind of bespoke custom chain of Logic's effects to explore mastering. Always a subject which splits opinion, a bit like Marmite for those of you in the UK, whether we should master our own tracks. But very generously in the comments, people seem to think that, like me, I agree with this. There's no reason why we shouldn't be at least exploring mastering plugins. After all, even mastering engineers have to start somewhere. They don't grow on trees, those people. And it suddenly struck me that actually, if we're really going to go there, and we are going to explore the idea of mastering our own tracks, we should get even better at that. And so this video is kind of like a bit of a part 2, where we're going to explore one really interesting and important element when it comes to the compression stage of mastering and putting a solution of our own plugins into the output channel. Before we go any further and find out what that is, let's just remind ourselves about this glorious piece of 2007.
'Cause you hit me like a 'Cause you hit me like a 'Cause you hit me like a heat wave. And shook me like an earthquake. Reminiscing better days, make those days right now. 'Cause you hit me like a heat wave. And shook me like an earthquake. Reminiscing better days, make those days right now.
Okay, I'm not going to play the whole thing again, but this time what I am going to do is to take this teeny tiny adaptive limiter, which is down in the bottom right-hand corner. Do go and watch that previous episode, by the way, in order to explain why this one is here and on screen and why it's the last processor in the chain. What I'm going to do is to run a section of the second half of this again, and what I want you to do is to look at the gain reduction amount. Now, what this is doing, as is true for anything that's limiting or compression based, i.e. dynamics processors, is it is applying the amount of reduction required in order to bring the overall average volume up. If we just turn everything up, the loudest bits get so loud that they get driven into distortion. So what we're always doing when we're dealing with dynamics processing is we're making sure that the top down gets kind of compressed so that we can turn the whole thing up. And I just want you to see whether or not you can see a musical correlation between what's happening in the music with the way that the reduction amount is working. In other words, what is the loudest bit that's making the adaptive limiter respond the most?
Hit me like a heat wave. And shook me like an earthquake. Reminiscing better days, make those days right now. 'Cause you hit me like a heat. Better days, make those days right now.
There may have been a little bit of a clue there. Just a little bit. If you didn't spot it, it's the kick drum. Okay, so of course it's the kick drum. Loud, deep, full of bass, full of energy. So it sort of stands to reason that if it's going to be low frequency content that is loud, that is going to impact the kind of drama of the way that the dynamics processors in a mastering chain are going to be responding, we need to be careful with that and potentially slightly undoing that. Now, to demonstrate exactly what I mean, I'm going to once again make the adaptive limiter teeny tiny and stick it in the bottom right hand corner, because we're not going to be addressing this using the adaptive limiter. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to attack it, literally attack it at the compression stage. And to demonstrate exactly what I mean, I'm actually going to swap the compressor out for the FabFilter Pro C3. So this is the update to the FabFilter compressor. I have a tendency to turn into Sean Connery when I say the word compressor, so I'm going to see if I can manage to get through an entire episode without that happening, but I hold out no hope. What this is really good for, and by the way, you can do everything we're going to look at using Logic's compressor, but in terms of seeing what we're hearing, these processors are fantastic, which is why we're going there now. What I'm going to do is to choose the mastering algorithm, which I think is in utility these days. Sure enough, we're into the kind of mastering compressor, and what I'm going to do is to press play again over the kind of loudest bit of the track, and what I'm going to do is to sort of go there a little bit with stereo compression. Now, the whole idea of the Pro C3 is it offers broadly really transparent compression. So rather than this being a compressor that we're really going to hear really dramatically going to work, it's kind of designed to not do that. It's a really utilitarian, really excellent compressor from that perspective. So I'm going to work these settings quite hard to really kind of make the point.
Wave, shook me like an earthquake. Reminiscing better days, make those days right now. 'Cause you hit me like a heat.
Be quiet, tape delay. Okay, so actually even the default settings are kind of doing that. Low threshold, therefore lots of the signal gets compressed. High-ish ratio, so we hear it really clearly, and we've got a nice fast-ish attack time that we're hearing the initial impact of the kick drum for just a moment before the compressor goes to work. Now again, what I'm going to do is to press play, and this time what we're looking at is the amount of gain reduction. In the same way that we did in the adaptive limiter a moment ago, we saw the kick being responsible for the volume drop. The same thing is going to be true here within this compressor too, and the red line across the top is showing me the amount of gain reduction. We're going to see that down the side here as well. I think we're going to be losing even 8 decibels of volume as each kick happens.
Wave, shook me like an earthquake. Reminiscing better days, make those days right now. 'Cause you hit me.
Again, be quiet, delay. Okay, so we can see that really clearly. In fact, it's more like 9 dB, loads and loads and loads of volume. Why isn't it quieter then, Jono? Well, because we're currently using automatic gain makeup. So what's happening is that the compressor is compensating for all of that lost volume by automatically pushing the volume up. I'm going to turn that off for a moment. Okay, what I'm actually going to do though, because it's going to be a lot quieter, is to turn up, I don't know, let's say 3 decibels of gain. But I really do want to make this point, and actually the signal being a lot quieter is going to help us. Okay, so what we've established so far is that the compressor is doing its thing and it's responding to the loudest bit of the signal, which is the low end kick drum in particular. So what if what we decided we wanted to do was to say, I do want the compressor to work as hard as it is right now, but I want it to be in a position where it is less responsive to that super loud kick drum. Is there a way that I can say to the compressor, take less notice of that kick drum as you are responding to this track? And the answer is yes. And the place that we can do that is in the sidechain filtering options, which are down here at the bottom. So when I click the sidechain button, there are a number of different modes that I can apply from a sidechain perspective, and we're going to use the internal mode, which is this one here. Now what that does is it provides me with the idea of frequency sensitive dynamics control. Thank you for watching. What does that mean? Well, it literally means, a bit like an EQ, I have an opportunity to say, okay, I want to roll off the impact of the low end in terms of the way that the compressor is going to respond. But unlike an EQ, rather than that actually turning down the volume of the bass, what it's doing is to lessen the sensitivity of the compressor's response to the bass. In other words, the further I get away, or the more I omit the low end, the less seriously the compressor is going to respond to that low end. And to really demonstrate that point, I'm actually going to do the opposite. I'm going to take this little ball all the way down below the range of human hearing so that all of the frequency content in this track is doing what it's doing right now, which is making the compressor respond. And what we'll see is that we still get that 9 dB drop in volume because the kick drum is doing its thing.
Wave, shook me like an earthquake. Reminiscing better days, make those days right now. 'Cause you hit me like a heat.
Okay, so what happens when I begin to move this over to the right-hand side and we start rolling out the impact of that low end on the way that the compressor behaves? Suddenly, everything is going to get louder because the kick drum is going to be ignored and the low end is going to be ignored by the compressor.
Heat wave, it shook me like an earthquake. Reminiscing better days, make those days right now. 'Cause you hit me like a heat wave, it shook me like an earthquake. Reminiscing better days, make those days right now.
And by the time I get to 1 kilohertz, we're only losing 3 decibels worth of volume. Now, again, because our ear is so drawn to volume, the temptation is to immediately think, oh, great, okay, well, I'm just going to emit all of the bass from the way that I want my compressor to behave when it comes to the mastering stage within my tracks. But that isn't a wise idea because, of course, the bass is part of the track. But it is a wise idea to think, okay, how much do I want the low end to be impacting on everything that happens at the mastering stage? And it definitely is a good idea to be thinking, okay, well, if it just feels like my whole mastering chain is squashing the dynamics of my track so much that actually it doesn't feel live or loud or in any way good, this is definitely something that is worth experimenting with. So as always, there is no one way of determining exactly what that point is. But if you're working on music which is really bass heavy, and every time a bass moment happens, the whole energy of the track just feels like it's sucked downwards and all the volume is lost, you're definitely including too much of that bass. Happens a lot in trailer music, by the way. If you're mixing trailer stuff and suddenly you've got some absolutely gargantuan sub hit in your moment, you get the kind of sub drop, look, sub drop face, and then a kind of sub drop lips now. What we suddenly get, I'm just making trailer music with my mouth. What you're going to suddenly discover is that the whole of the dynamics of your track just gets sucked downwards because the compressor just goes, oh my God, there's an enormous amount of energy that I've got to respond to. And we've just seen that the red line drops to minus 15 decibels and all of the energy is sucked out of your track. So we need to be more careful than that. Okay, what I'm actually going to do now is to run the track all the way through from the beginning and actually find some settings that feel like they're working. I'm going to turn the gain down for a moment. I'm going to reset this all the way over to the left-hand side, and I'm just going to see if I can find a balance that works. I'm going to run it from the top, but I'm going to put a loop around this section so that if it turns out I need to do this more than once, we're only working on the loudest bit of the track.
'Cause you hit me like a 'Cause you hit me like a 'Cause you hit me like a heat wave, it shook me like an earthquake. Reminiscing better days, make those days right now. 'Cause you hit me like a heat wave, it shook me like an earthquake. Reminiscing better days, make those days right now. Heat wave, it shook me like an earthquake. Reminiscing better days, make those days right now. 'Cause you hit me like a heat wave, it shook me like an earthquake. Reminiscing better days, make those days right now. 'Cause you hit me like a 'Cause
Okay, so actually I'm going to just do that one more time. Don't worry. I just really want to make one point. So the first time we listened through this, exactly the thing that I was describing when I was making kind of trailer music face happened, which is by including all of the bass, the moment we want the track to pick up in energy, the opposite happens. Until that point, there is no bass in the track really, and then the kick drum arrives and all of the energy just drops away. And that happened over here when the bass was fully included. Have another listen and you'll see what I mean.
'Cause you hit me like a 'Cause you hit me like a heat wave. Oh, and shook me like an earth.
What a massive anticlimax that moment is. And the moment we lessen the effect of the bass, much less of that happens. Now, the other thing to say is that my ratio is too high really for mastering. I don't want it to be working this hard, and certainly we could increase the threshold a little and that will also make it work less hard. But this I think is really important. Now, there's one more thing I want to say, which is that while I was making sort of changes to this, you probably saw me sort of changing the strength of the filter that I was working on. Remember, what that always means is how many decibels per octave do we cut out when it comes to deciding what we're going to do with the way that this high pass filter is going to work. The lower this number, i.e. 6 compared to 12, the less extreme the effect will be. The higher the number, the much more extreme the effect will be. Remember, the kick drum is part of the track. To completely omit it from the way that you want the compressor to behave is likely to not yield an amazing result. But if you include all of the kick drum, particularly if you're working on bass heavy music, we've seen that actually you're more likely to lose energy rather than gain it. And I've managed to get all the way through this episode without saying compression. Amazing.